I will say it again, train your boundaries to be stronger than your empathy because baby, audacity is at an all-time high.
Straight to a penthouse, Miami Beach. Yeah, yo, talk crazy on tweets. They don't want it cause I come to defeat. They don't want it. I peek, these niggas all sweet. Bamboo sticks all in the Jeep. It's a new weirdo every week. Get the work, put it up for my seeds. No care for the IG, just no care. Anything for clout. Anything for clout.
Hey babes, and welcome back to another video with your BFF4L. I'm Shelethia Tre'Nae, and welcome back to my channel. All right, babes, let's get into it. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that I feel is very important, the harsh truth about setting boundaries and how you can set boundaries that actually work. We're going to get into why you need them and explore ways of how you can set them accordingly. Before we jump into this video, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel and join the beauty gang. We are a growing community over here and we'd love to have you. So with that being said, if you are new to my channel, then welcome. My name is Shelethia Tre'Nae and I like to call myself your BFF4L. That stands for Beauty and Fashion for Lifestyle Content, which is all that my channel is about. So if you are into that, then you are in the right place. If you are a returning subscriber, then hey girl, hey, welcome back. Let's get into it. You guys know I have my notes here to the left of me. So if you see me looking to the left, that is what I'm looking at. I just want to make sure that I stay on topic and that I cover everything that I need to cover in today's video because we have so much to talk about, okay? We're about to get into it. We are talking harsh truth about boundaries, okay? Why you need them and how you can set some that actually work for you. If you find yourself being a nurturer all the time, always having to be the strong friend, navigating through life, sacrificing everything that you have to offer just to please those around you, then my friend, you are in dire need of some boundaries, and we are going to fix that today. I think that the most unfortunate thing about boundaries is that most of us weren't really taught how to set them. And I think that truly stems from childhood, that if you were the nice kid, then maybe you would be a little bit more appreciated, whether that was in your household, at school, in your friendships. Somewhere down the line, we were taught that to love or to be loved by the majority meant that we had to sacrifice something or compromise our desires. That loyalty meant saying yes all the time. But the truth is, learning how to set boundaries is learning how to prioritize your peace over pleasing others. You don't set boundaries to offend others. You set boundaries to respect yourself. And when you're truly able to understand the positive impact that boundaries have on your life, your well-being, your mindset, you master training your boundaries to be stronger than your empathy. I had to learn the hard way a few times that saying yes when you really want to say no will break you. Listen, I fully understand the desire to keep the peace and not ruffle any feathers. Sometimes our backs are just up against the wall, and it's a lot easier to just say yes and agree to certain things or do certain things than it is to explain why you won't. I get it, but I had to realize the power of embracing the word no. No is a full sentence, and I think often a lot of us forget that. Everything doesn't need an explanation. You don't always have to bog your brain down with how I am going to say this, how am I going to package this up so nicely and neatly to present it to this person without hurting their feelings. You don't. You simply decline and you keep it pushing. What I've learned is when you try so hard to keep the peace, whose peace are you really keeping? It's certainly not yours. You shouldn't be navigating your life feeling overly drained or overwhelmed or like you're constantly showing up for others a lot more than you're actually showing up for yourself. If you are finding yourself emotionally drained after hanging up the phone with family or friends or coworkers, anxious when someone calls you or texts you for something, maybe resentful towards the people that you know you actually care about, or even feeling guilty when you finally take that time that you needed for yourself. Listen, if you are feeling any of those things, then my friend, that is your body literally screaming for you to have boundaries. I saw a quote that said, "You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm." And let me tell you, I literally resonated with that so much, because at the end of the day, all you really have is yourself, right? You have to be full, you have to be complete in order to give to the people around you. And if you want to be your best version of yourself, you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm probably going to say that a lot through this video, because that is what has carried me in cultivating and setting these boundaries that I now have in my life that I didn't always have before. You were not put on this earth to help heal everybody else around you when you are losing yourself. You're jeopardizing all the things that keep you sane for the comfort and the satisfaction of those around you. Now, when I first started setting boundaries, I will not lie, I was afraid of letting people down. But then I realized it's not about them. It's about caring for myself enough to honor my limits. I had to pause and really make sure that when I'm saying yes to other people, that I am not saying no to myself. When you have a giving spirit like I do, you have to constantly remind yourself that not everyone is going to have the same heart that you have. Not everyone is going to see things in the same way that you do. Not everyone is going to appreciate you stretching yourself thin. You as a giver have to set those limitations, set those boundaries, because the takers never do. Unfortunately, they just don't always fully understand or even care to understand the sacrifice that you are making. So I took some time to do a little research on a few common examples of where boundaries are needed in most people's lives, as well as various ways that you can handle them. I wanted to make sure that after you watch this video, you can confidently say that you have everything that you need to set boundaries from today on. One example is, let's say that you are exhausted from a long week of work, but your friends, your family, whoever keeps pressuring you to hang out every weekend or go to an event or do something that's going to take up some of your energy and some of your time. You want to, but you just don't always have the bandwidth. A boundary for this example will look something like, "Hey, I love y'all, I really do, but I'm not available this weekend, maybe another time." This simple response is enough to get your message across clearly without much room for negotiation or guilt or feeling like you're being rude. Sometimes you will have to decline some outings with your friends. Don't feel guilty about that, because like I said before, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take that time to refill yourself, do what you need to do, and don't feel guilty about declining an invitation. Another common example is people that only reach out when they need something. I think this one is just self-explanatory. You want to help people and you want to be kind. You don't want to, like for me personally, I do not want to miss my blessing to help others. What I struggled with before is when I see that, whether I know in the moment that they are using me or they're not genuine about their request or they're not trying on their own and they just know that I'm a nice person and I can probably help them think through their problem, I still help them. When you are saying yes to those around you, you have to make sure that you're not saying no to yourself. If it doesn't feel right, if it jeopardizes your peace and your sanity, if you feel bad, even though you're doing a good deed for someone, then that is just not okay. You have to set a boundary and say, "Hey, I can't help you this time. I'm sorry. I just don't have the bandwidth today." Or, "Unfortunately, I can't help you, but I will be praying for you and my thoughts are with you." It's a simple response. Again, not really leaving room for negotiation, not leaving any room for guilt, and you standing on that boundary that you're setting in place to protect your peace. Another very common one is your boss calling or texting you after work hours. You're off the clock, but work is still working. And for some reason, your boss is still tasking you as if you're still on duty. You may naturally feel pressured to respond because you don't want to appear uncommitted to your job, right? A boundary for this looks like, "Hey, I will address this first thing in the morning." If you're anything like me, you want to make sure that you're fully present when you're at work, okay? When I'm at work and I'm sitting in front of my desk, that's the only thing that's on my mind. I'm ready to work. But I cannot do that if I don't have that proper rest that I need to give myself that mental clarity in preparation for going to work the next day. Which is why it's very important for you to set that boundary to cut off all work-related activities at a certain time of the day. Whether it's 5:30, 6 p.m., you have to have that healthy work-life balance, and setting boundaries to say, hey, I will address this first thing in the morning. It'll be first on my checklist tomorrow. Gives you room to prioritize your personal life as well as committing to giving your full self at work when you are at work. Maybe another example is having a romantic partner that disregards your alone time. Maybe you have communicated that you need some time to recharge, that you need that me time, but your partner loves spending time with you as they should. Maybe they feel a little neglected. They want to hang out with you 24/7 and you start feeling guilty, right? That's normal. That's completely common. How do you express that without hurting your partner's feelings? A boundary for this example would look like, hey babe, I love you, but I also need space to be my best self. That doesn't mean that I love you any less. It just means that I am prioritizing my mental health a bit. And there are a wide range of examples that are just common, right? I've listed out a few, but I can think of plenty, like having coworkers dumping tasks on you because they think that you're nice and you're always picking up the slack. Maybe you have people around you that are comfortable with making inappropriate jokes or little shady comments in your presence. And one of the most common, in my opinion, having people constantly venting to you without your consent. You are not a dumpster. You don't get to just dump stuff on me, okay? And the list goes on, but the point is that setting boundaries is the kindest thing that you can do for yourself. They help to protect your peace, your energy, your mind, all of which are very important to be the best version of yourself. Do not overplay your role. I used to tolerate a lot because I didn't want to lose people. But now I establish boundaries because I don't want to lose myself. The world needs you in your healthiest form, and that starts by creating those boundaries. So let's talk about how you need to go about setting those boundaries. First things first, never feel guilty about setting boundaries that protect you and your peace. The truth is, boundaries will always seem offensive to people who had plans on violating you from the very beginning. And I will say it again, train your boundaries to be stronger than your empathy because, baby, audacity is at an all-time high. Don't feel like you have to have some type of guilt or that you're being mean. Setting boundaries isn't being mean, it's being mature. It's one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself and the ones around you. And you have to constantly remind yourself that. My life got a lot better when I realized that I didn't have to be nice all the time. You know what happened to me when I let guilt take over and attempted to be nice all the time? I got ran over, stressed out, and disrespected, okay? Tell yourself never again. It's okay to be nice, don't get me wrong, but just make sure that you're being nice to yourself first. And if you somehow find yourself struggling to be too nice too often, to the point that it's disrupting your peace or throwing you off your game, say to yourself, I'm not just nice, I'm a good person. They're two completely different things. One is to make the other person feel good and that person only, and the other is to make sure that you both are feeling good. Because when you navigate your boundaries from a perspective of being a good person, you eliminate that feeling of needing to please everyone around you. Don't worry about feeling guilty or mean or offending someone. Instead, remind yourself that you are setting those boundaries not to offend anyone, but to simply respect yourself. I want to encourage you to learn how to say no without over explaining. This one I do still struggle with from time to time because somewhere down the line I have taught myself that saying no can come off as a bit selfish or maybe rude. But the truth is it's not. And when you find yourself over explaining, it can come off as you trying to ask for permission for the decision that you made. That maybe if you give just a little bit more detail in your explanation, that your answer is somehow more valid and people will suddenly understand more. But your no is already enough, and you don't owe anyone anything to justify why you are setting the boundaries that you are setting for yourself. It is not for them to understand. Your boundaries literally don't have to make sense to anyone else but you. Normalize using no as a full sentence. It can be uncomfortable, I know, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Scratch necessarily, that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Even when we know we don't owe anyone an explanation, sometimes we still feel like we do. But one thing that gives me a little bit of comfort when I feel convicted in my decision to say no to something is that for every time I say no to something that I know is going to drain me, I'm saying yes to my peace, my energy, my mind. And that is way more important to me than your feelings that can change on the fly at any given time. In order to effectively set boundaries, you have to be very clear on what I like to call your non-negotiables, okay? These are things that you just cannot afford to sacrifice. For example, and I see this all the time, beating around the bush or talking in circles, not being very clear, not being very direct is not sufficient. When you want to say no, say no. You have to say what you will or will not allow and say it plainly. If you know you have to leave a place at a certain time, let them know I'm unavailable after said time. If you're being put in a conversation that you know is making you feel a little bit uneasy, then let them know, hey, I'm not comfortable having this conversation. Take me out the group chat. Redirect the conversation, okay? There are plenty of different ways that you can say no. And please do not think that you are not going to get any pushback, okay? You will get pushback. So prepare yourself now, because believe me, there are some people that benefit off of your lack of boundaries. They will call you wrong, they will talk about you, but just remember, powerful people get talked about, weak ones do the talking. Know that some people will never grow because they can't hear without getting offended, and that is okay. It is not your problem to fix. Okay, not your monkey, not your circus. You have to just remember that having boundaries is your responsibility, okay? You decide what you allow and will not allow in your life. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to be seen differently. You're allowed to show up for yourself. It's okay. Stand on your boundaries no matter what, even if it gets lonely. Set those boundaries and just make sure that you are true to them. You will thank yourself in the long run. All right, babes, I really hope you enjoyed this video. What is one boundary that you have been afraid to set? Let me know down below in the comments. Think on it a little bit. I'd love to chit chat with you guys. I know there are plenty of boundaries that I may not have covered in this one video, but let me just leave you with this. There's no one size fit all boundary, okay? Tailor them to whatever you need for yourself to ensure that you are showing up as the best version of yourself. All right, guys, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this video with someone who you think may need a little push to protect their peace and establish some boundaries, okay? Your peace is your power, and you don't have to apologize for protecting it. As always, be yourself, be you, be beautiful, and be untamed. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.